everybody. We're back for another episode of Conversations That Connect Us. And I have a very dear friend with me today. This beautiful lady, Megan. You guys have seen her on other podcasts that she's done with me. She has been on the Smart Money Gal podcast. She has been on the Wealth and Women series. A new mom and a dear friend. So Megan, hello. How are you?
Hello, good to be back and recording again. I feel like there's been a lot of changes on both of our ends since recording last. I have a almost 6-month-old. Last time I was on here or when we were doing the women's series, I was, almost about to have a baby, and now I have one.
I can't believe it. And her name is Scarlett, and she is precious, and she's got these cheeks that Megan's always posting pictures, and she is just precious.
She has had cheeks since she was born, I swear.
She has. She's so cute though. She's so cute. But I wanted Megan to come on because, again, the reason for this podcast is for women to have a platform to just talk about their lives. Just come on and share things, and you may find a connectivity with me or with one of the guests that come on. And the interview that we do is really just ask them about their life and things that they faced and ways that they've gotten through different things. And Megan and I met, oh my gosh,
almost 2 years probably.
Yeah. And Megan works at Core Income Advisors, and she's a sales consultant, but she's really also there to help people like me who are in the financial services industry find the best solutions for their clients. So we kind of started off in that space. And then before I knew it, she was sitting on my back porch, coming to my 50th birthday party. And then we've become really good friends. And I just really wanted to have her come on because, it's easy to come on and speak about what you do for a living. So those of you who've seen Megan and other things, she's sharing different knowledge in her area of expertise in the financial services space. But I wanted to have her come on as a woman, as a new mom, as somebody who has just been through challenges in life. So are you ready for your questions?
I'm ready. I had to think about these, but I'm ready.
That's why I give them to people in advance, because I don't want it to be where, they get these, I ask them a question, because one of these questions, question number 4, when we get to it, is one that was asked of me that stumped me. So I was like, I wish I would have had this question ahead of time. But although I've given a little bit of background on you, can you just tell everybody a little bit more about yourself and where you're from and, expand on what you do for a living?
I absolutely can. And I was actually stumped on number 4 too. When you're preparing for like a job interview, you're like, I can Google some of the answers that are best suited for these questions. And I'm like, can I Google this? What is the insult that I get? Like, no, it's about me. I should know this already. But anyways, yes, about me. And as Jennifer mentioned, again, thank you so much for having me on. I love doing these types of things, and I love connecting with, other people, other women, in any sort of industry. And I think this is just such an awesome way to do that. But, really about me, I come from a very small town back in Wisconsin, central Wisconsin area. And I moved over to Minneapolis. It took me a few tries. After I graduated high school, I went to college in city, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is probably about 2 hours from where I'm located now. But I wasn't ready for a huge transition yet. I still wanted something that was, a bit small, smaller, but bigger than the small town that I was from, something that offered, the schooling I was looking for. And then about, 6-7 years ago now, I moved to the city of Minneapolis, and I love it. I mean, there's a lot to do. It's offered me, wonderful job opportunity where I'm at now. I actually went to school for human resources and ended up pursuing something totally different. And now I'm in, as Jennifer mentioned, a sales consultant role. So, I'm working with advisors like Jennifer, and really just building relationships to ultimately be, a valued resource and someone that advisors can come to when they have client needs. And moving to the cities, I think, allowed me the opportunity to really find a solid position like this. It just, your opportunities are broadened so much when you move to a bigger area like this. And luckily I'm still just 3-hour drive from home back to see, you know, when I want to go see my family, my grandma, my mom. My dad actually recently moved over here, so he's real close. So it's great. And, you know, I'm sure some of you may be located in the warm areas are thinking, how do you survive 6-7 months of, you know, cold over there? And I guess the answer would be family. Otherwise I would have been gone long ago. But yeah, family keeps me grounded here. So I love it. And as Jennifer mentioned, yes, me and my significant other just welcomed our little girl Scarlett, who is now 6 months old. So tackling that and working this wonderful role as a sales consultant has been a lot, but it's been pretty amazing.
And again, she is so cute. Like, she is just the cutest. Like, you know, for the longest time they said, don't ever hang around people that have babies because then you end up with another baby. I am 51 years old. My kids are grown, you know. I mean, no, my granddaughter actually turns 9 today. And, you know, so I'm at a stage now where I feel comfortable being around people who have babies, but I just don't have any people really, really close to me where I live that have babies. So you have
I'm around my own baby and I want another baby. So,
cover yours.
If Brian sees this, if Brian watches this, he's going to say, okay, we've already had this discussion, not anytime soon. It's like, you get that perfect first baby and you're like, all right, I'm ready for another one.
I know.
You hear people say the second one won't be as perfect. You just wait. They'll be the stinker out of the two. But yeah, not anytime soon, but I definitely would love to have another one.
Well, Scarlett needs to have a playmate. I mean, I know she does Mac, but needs to have a playmate.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, why don't you tell me, because I don't even know, but tell everybody else what made you say yes to coming on my podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love doing these types of things. And I would say that honestly for me hasn't started until recently. Prior to COVID, you were, either just talking to clients over the phone for the most part, or for us, we have advisors and clients that we work with all over the country. So, I mean, a lot of it is phone calls. Luckily, we have events where we have advisors here in the office, so we get to meet face to face that way. But I think when COVID started and Zoom and all these other types of platforms for having meetings became such a big deal, I really had to kind of get out of my comfort zone and do more of the face-to-face that way. I honestly didn't really do much for meetings prior to COVID, and, let alone having webinars and things like we've done together, from, the women's health and wealth to now doing a podcast. It just allows me to kind of get out of my bubble a little bit and build more confidence with, doing these types of things. Yours and my profession involves talking to clients day in and day out. And I think, being in a role like this where it's important to, be a resource for your clients, I think it's also just as important to build relationships with those clients, and having the ability to do that face to face is, I think, just as important, if not more important. So, I think this is just a really awesome way to do that, and hopefully meet some amazing people along the way. And honestly, it just allows me more time with Jennifer. So it's kind of a win-win situation. But I just think it's a great opportunity all around to really kind of just expand and be able to tell a story.
Well, and one of the things you mentioned, getting out of your comfort zone, you look back before COVID, and I can't begin to tell you how many clients that I was working with that would have never done this. Right. So they were forced to do it. Now it has become the preferred way of communicating, because, you're essentially still face to face with somebody. You just may not be in their breathing distance, but you're still face to face. And I can't begin to tell you, I probably this year, I mean, we have 4 months left in the year, I may have had 2 face-to-face appointments all year, like physically face-to-face with people. You know, it's just easy. This so much more convenient. Don't have to drive, really don't have to get dressed, with the exception of like the waist up, you know.
Right.
But, I mean, you don't have to go through all the stuff that you had to go to, you know, before to meet face to face. So, and again, I appreciate getting to spend time with you too, because we haven't had a lot of time to spend with each other. But now that we know a little bit about who you are and why you decided to say yes, I want to start kind of digging in and getting to know you a little bit better. And, you know, what has been the biggest obstacle in your life that you've had to face, and what did you do to overcome it?
Yeah, so I think, you know, that was kind of a tough one for me too, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I could say, you know, this has been an obstacle for me, you know, just from college on, just different things you kind of go through as you're figuring out who you are. But really, I think the biggest obstacle I would have to say would be having a child, and especially your first child. I mean, as I would say, first and foremost, Scarlett is my number one blessing. And I mean, as much as an obstacle as it might have been, it was one that, you know, gave me her. So I'm so happy and just blessed and all around just in love with her. But, you know, you go through that immediate kind of fear of, how are we going to do this? How, you know, we're having a baby, we're having our first baby. First and foremost, financially, you know, we have to consider childcare. We have to consider life insurance and doctor bills and food. You know, how are we going to do all of these things? And, you know, for me, I'm very grateful that I have, you know, Brian, who is Scarlett's father. You know, we are together. And I think having that kind of team aspect, you know, we navigated it as a team. We sat down and we figured out what we needed to put aside in order to raise her comfortably, and just kind of going through all of those questions together and figuring out what that was going to entail. And, you know, we're doing it, but it is scary. And, you know, aside from the finance portion of it, you're questioning, what, you know, am I going to be capable of being a mother? Am I going to be able to raise a child, you know, a new baby? Am I going to be good at this? Am I going to be able to do it? And it's amazing when you have the baby, when she enters the world, he or she, you just do it. I mean, you kind of just turn into this whole new person, and you go home and you put the parent pants on, and you just start raising the child. And I think, you know, it's been all the most amazing, you know, and miraculous thing that we've done. And I wouldn't change it for the world, but it definitely comes with obstacles, you know, both financially and, you know, emotionally, when you're trying to figure out, you know, how you're going to take those steps to be the best parent that you can be.
I can remember when my first son was born. He'll be 32 in October. I can remember being in the hospital and go, okay, so I'm going to leave. I gotta take him. One of you nurses aren't going to come home with me and, you know, help me make sense of things. And then when you guys finally decide that it's time to have another baby, you'll feel almost like, hey, I'm like a veteran at this, you know, but then you get this another little person shows up and you're like, you are nothing like the last one. And it's hard to imagine and realize how different they are, you know. But I mean, I say this and everybody says it, it's so cliche, but they're only little for so long. You have to enjoy every little waking moment that you have with them. But it's scary, you know, it is scary. And I think being prepared for a baby is definitely, you know, definitely something you have to do. And it's been neat as a friend to watch you kind of go from, you know, being scared of having a baby and then falling in love with this new little person, and then all the pictures that come after it. And now you're talking about, let's get the next one coming, you know, like it's that evolution of being scared and then falling into your role in life, as beautifully as you did. I think for me, you know, have you ever seen those Blinko chips with they bang down like this as they go down that thing. That's how I felt with my first baby. But then by the time I had my third, I'm like, you hear a loud noise and you're like, are you bleeding?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
But I
know I say it's an obstacle, but I mean, again, I'm 6 months out and I'm like, okay, so how many trips do you need us to take before we work on number 2? Like, it is an obstacle, but it's one that you're willing to take for the outcome of what you get from it.
Sure.
So I mean, it's wonderful. And I was the same way in the hospital also. I was like, however many nights we can stay before you're gonna like increase our bill, I will take it so you can help me take care of this baby. But
oh my God. And it's hard to imagine that somebody so tiny controls your entire life. You know, I mean, just this little person is just taking over everything in your life, and you kind of forget what it looked like before them, you know?
Yeah.
But now that we're done talking about all the good stuff, let's talk about what has been, and this is the question that tripped me up. What has been the one insult that you've ever received that you're the most proud of?
Yeah. And this tripped me up too. Like what I've been insulted and I've been proud of it. I don't remember that. No. But really thinking about it, something that I get told a lot by family, friends, whoever, is that I care too much or I'm a people pleaser. And I would have to say I 110% agree with both of those statements. I've always just been someone that, if it's, from being younger and telling someone that I can't come to girls' night, I'm like, oh gosh, are they mad at me? Should I text them or call them again and make sure that how do I let them know I can't be there without just saying I can't be there, and now even into my career, making sure that I, handle conversations with my clients in a specific way and making sure that, nothing I say, upsets or handles a situation wrong. I'm always over analyzing conversations, and I've learned to get better at it, but it is something I could work on to an extent. However, I would say I'm also semi-proud of it because it does allow me to be good at the job that I have. I want to make sure that my clients are taken care of. I want to make sure that from the minute they call me, asking for an illustration for an annuity, that from that moment to that application going in the door with the carrier, that I'm getting everything handled appropriately, and I'm making sure that the client's taken care of, that their client is then taken care of. So, my over analyzing ability, or kind of my, need to please people or make sure people are taken care of, I think also comes in handy in those types of situations, because I do want to make sure everything is taken care of smoothly. So as much as it's something that I think I could work on, I do feel that it allows me an effort to be a good, consultant to my advisors and a good friend to, those friendships that I have.
I would agree. I mean, being a people pleaser and caring too much, I think, especially in the world that we live in now, I think a lot of people need that.
Yeah.
Need to know that they're cared about, that they're appreciated, that, what they're trying to achieve or accomplish is important to other people too, and I can tell you that I appreciate what what you help me with and what you do for me. And you're always checking in and, making sure that I don't need anything. And I do think it's a strength. And I think it is an insult that you should be very proud of, I don't know about an insult, but,
And I mean,
you were even too nice to tell me what an insult was.
And it is, I mean, because a lot of people will come to me, Brian too, he's like, you need to stop worrying so much about what people think, and there are definitely times where, I'm like, why am I stressing myself out over this? Why am I allowing myself to get so worked up over something that, you know, at the end of the day, is it really going to matter? Is it going to make a difference? And there have been, you know, maybe more on the friendship side where there's moments where it's like, you can't allow yourself to get so worked up. I think a lot of it too, you know, now becoming a mom, my priorities have totally shifted.
Oh, for sure.
So, you know, I think there are moments where it does come into play where it's like, okay, you're right. I should stop, you know, being such a worrier about that and stop making sure that, you know, I'm giving the people the answers they want to everything, or, you know, trying to, you know, wear two different hats and be in two different places at once. But, you know, I think, again, in situations like this where I want to make sure that my clients are happy and the friendships that I have, you know, are going well, and taking care of my daughter, I think in certain situations, it's definitely a good, you know, trait to have.
Oh, I would agree. And what do you think is one thing, since we're talking about the inner Megan and what's going on, like, what do you think is the one thing that people misunderstand about you the most?
Yeah, so I would say, you know, I guess biggest thing that I think people would misunderstand about me, or maybe gather kind of a misinterpretation, is that they might think I apologize a lot, if that makes sense. So, you know, for example, there's so many times, and I don't know if I will tell you, pregnancy brain is a thing. It is, in fact, a very real thing. So, you know, if going into a personal conversation, if, you know, Brian will text me, hey, remember that? So from this morning, this conversation we had, remember when I told you XYZ? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't remember that. You know, what were we talking about? And he's like, you don't have to apologize. I'll just, I'll tell you again, you know, we were busy making a bottle and you were getting ready for work and we were trying to get breakfast made. So totally understandable. Or, you know, there's times where I'll be at the office and two of my, you know, coworkers are having a conversation, and I'll hop in the office because I have something like really important that has to be handled. And I'll just kind of bounce in quick, and I'm like, I'm really, really sorry to interrupt this conversation, but, you know, I need to handle, again, XYZ. And I think, I mean, obviously in certain situations you can hold off and it can wait, but the fact that I'm apologizing for maybe something that, you know, is necessary to kind of bust in on the conversation, I think it can just kind of take that power away from what you're trying to tell somebody. And I just think that it might come across or make people misunderstand me for seeming unclear or uncertain in what I'm trying to get across.
We're just going to make you an honorary Canadian. Because my husband says I'm sorry all the time.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Maybe it's just because you know, you live in another really cold place. You could be just an honorary Canadian anyway, and just for apologizing.
Maybe it's part of that Minnesota nice thing that everyone says we have.
I hadn't realized it until I got married, about how much Canadian people apologize, you know, and sorry. And I'm like, what? Okay.
What are you sorry for?
Yeah. No, but I understand where you're coming from. You know, I think there's just a lot of things that, and again, another reason for the podcast was just, it's all about perspective. It's all about hearing, you know, what you are saying on your side and her side of the story, and what you're trying to convey with other people. And I'm sure that there's going to be people that watch these podcasts and are like, oh my God, I do the same thing, you know? So there's somebody else out there who does the exact same stuff as me. And I think that's, you know, again, it's just creating another sense of community and having an understanding that, you know, I can't tell you how many women I talk to who they feel like they're the only person that is going through something or feeling some way. And it's good to know that there's other people out there that do the exact same stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's so important. It's amazing how many conversations I have with new people I meet where I'll explain, that, I get anxious about certain things, or I have feelings about certain things, and they're like, oh my gosh, I go through that same thing. And I'm like, wait, what? So this is normal? So I don't need to like call a therapist? Like, this is okay? And it's like, everyone does have you'd be surprised probably at how many people have very similar feelings about things, but they're too scared to discuss it because they don't want to seem, like it's not normal. And so, like you said, I think this is such a great way for people to kind of really be able to interact with each other and kind of bounce off with each other some of those feelings that they have. And
for sure. And what is right now currently in your life, what is the biggest kind of challenge that you're facing, and what are you doing to tackle it?
And I would say this actually probably goes back a little bit to what we were just talking about with, feeling that having, certain thoughts or feelings, might not be the same as other people, but being a new mom, it's a full-time job. So I have a full-time job, and now I have another full-time job when I go home every single night. And something I've had to learn to kind of try to determine how to work around it is, is it okay for me to make dinner when I get home? Is it okay for me to fold the laundry, or should I be like constantly holding Scarlett? Am I a bad mom if I, put her in the chair next to me while I make dinner, or ask Brian to, either make dinner so that I can take care of her, or vice versa? Constantly questioning if I'm a bad mom for doing some of those things. And I was actually talking to somebody, one of my girlfriends, she has a baby that's a little bit older than Scarlett. And she's like, I have felt that same way. I've had those same types of, questions go through my mind of what is the right way to do this. And something that was told to me that I think really hit home and really helped me to realize that is okay is, for example, going home and, giving her a big hug and a snuggle, and then setting her in her bouncy chair in the kitchen with me while I make dinner is okay. Because if I don't eat, then I'm going to be hungry, which is going to make me tired. And then how am I going to be a good mom? So I need to energize my body. Brian needs to energize his body in order for us to be the best parents that we can be. And, it's not, they said it's not that you're just putting her in a chair and sitting on your phone and going on TikTok or Instagram or scrolling the internet. You're doing something that's going to better yourself so that you can be the best mom that you want to be. And that's really helped me tackle, those feelings or those questions that I've had, when trying to figure out how I can be the best mom for my daughter.
Well, and I know there's a lot of parenting books. I even have an ebook that I wrote called The Productive Mom. I know there's so many different things that there's books that can guide you through different experiences as a parent or different ways to approach things. But, kids don't come with like an owner's manual and an instruction manual, because everybody's life is different. Everybody's circumstances are different. Everybody's child is different. So I think it's as a new mom, again, first baby, I can remember 32 years ago when I was in the exact same space, and I thought for sure everything I was doing was wrong, and everything that I was doing was not going to benefit my kid and all that stuff. And then you started getting all the unsolicited advice from people who didn't have children, which is just obviously the best type of advice to get for people who can't relate to what you're going through anyway. But I think that you just have to figure out what's best for what's going on in your house, what's going on, in your life. And there's no doubt you're a great mom. Like, there's just no doubt. But thinking about all those things and questioning yourself, I think just comes with the territory. It'll get easier.
Absolutely.
Just tell Brian to do dinner.
Yeah, right.
they can
We do. We split it up, but yes, I'm just gonna, from now on, he's doing it every night, and I will just cuddle with the baby when I get home. So that'll handle.
So she's a need for another baby. So
yes,
you have one that you can cuddle with, and then you can.
Exactly. I like that idea.
Don't tell him I said that.
Yeah.
I'll be
getting watch this. I might get a phone call.
Well, tell me, what is one thing that you hope people take away from us spending this time getting to know you better?
Honestly, I hope that people can take away, what I was honestly able to take away from coming up with the answer to some of these questions is just, doing things that, work for you, doing things that are going to best, give you the best outcome for your day, for your career, for your everyday life, and not worrying too much about what other people think of you. I mean, have the respect for your friends, for your family, for your peers, but, really doing what's best for you at the end of the day. And I think becoming a mom again has allowed me to do that more so than I would have before. I know, what my priorities are, and that's just what it is. And I hope that people can take some of these, maybe the insult that I mentioned about, pleasing people all the time, or making sure you care so much about what others think of you, apologizing all the time. At the end of the day, it's, some of those things, when they're unnecessary, it's just going to end up stressing you out more. I know it has for me, constantly just over analyzing everything and making sure that everyone is happy. At the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're happy, that you're fulfilled. And when that is done, and when that's, complete, then you can, put more focus into others and kind of making sure that they're taken care of. But you got to take care of yourself first. So I hope that, whoever is watching this, that you can take that away from this conversation. And, I know I will. So.
Well, and if anybody wants to reach out to connect with you about whether it's the financial side, or it's just as a mom, maybe with other questions or struggles that they're going through, are you open to people being able to connect with you?
Absolutely. I would love that from both sides. I'm building relationships, whether that be, other advisors that have needs for their clients. I would love to be a resource that, they can come to and trust, or just, a new friend that maybe is also, recently had a child and maybe heard some of these things, and it triggered, a thought in their mind, like, this is something that I worry about too. Absolutely open to having those conversations, and, in fact, hope that I do.
Well, we appreciate, and I know I always appreciate talking to you, and I'm going to make sure that I have all of your contact information underneath of the podcast so people can reach out to you. But I'm going to let you go for now. And thank you for coming on the Conversations That Connect Us, because I think there's so much that you've said that I can think back as a new mom, or I can think back as I was going through things in life. And there is just so many commonalities in all of our stories and all of the struggles that we go through in life. And, so I appreciate you sharing a little bit about you and allowing us to get to know you better. And I hope to have you back again.
Absolutely.
Maybe next time with the baby.
Yes. Yes. I know. I was like, we should have her on here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, thank
you so much,
Megan. And thank you guys for watching another episode of Conversations That Connect Us. And if you'd like to be a guest and come on and tell your story, go to talkwithjennifer.com, request podcast guest, and we'll have you on here to do an interview and share more about your life with the world. Thanks, everybody. Thanks again, Megan.
Thank you.
Bye.